Welcome to Unit 3. In this unit, we're going to take a look at discounts. We'll look at two specific kinds. We'll talk about trade discounts and cash discounts. I'm going to open up this PowerPoint and share it with you here. And you'll notice on the front screen that the material is found from Chapter 11 of your textbook. So with no further ado, let's rock and roll. Overview slide gives you a look at where we're going to head. When we look at Section 11, when we're talking trade discounts, and in some cases that'll be a single discount. In some cases, there'll be a chain of multiple discounts. A little bit later, we'll talk about cash discounts, probably a sequence of several videos as we span our content in Unit 3. Some objectives for you to consider as we go. We'll talk about shipping charges, who pays them. We'll be able to calculate discounts. We'll find the discount amount and the net price. And again, I won't insult you by reading them all. But by the end of the entire unit, there are some goals for us to have attained, and hopefully we'll be able to make progress as the videos progress. All right, Section 11.1, trade discounts. For those of you who haven't had a business background in the past, this slide gives us a little bit of a snapshot about what a trade discount is. You can envision a manufacturer or maybe a wholesaler of goods being able to offer a retailer, maybe like Best Buy or Target, a chance to lower a price on a particular product and in a sense putting them in a place to make a better profit. So that's what we're going to look at. This is the notion of trade discounts. They're generally expressed as a percent, and we will see a single discount, and we will also look at what chain discounts look like. The process to calculate is really not that cumbersome. We're going to take a list price and simply multiply by a percentage to find out how much is being discounted, the amount of the discount. Then to find what your author calls a net price, we'll take the original list price and we'll subtract away whatever that trade discount amount was. Again, it's a fairly straightforward concept. Multiplication and a subtraction get you information about how much the trade discount amount is, and then how that's used with the list price to calculate a net price. Certainly, we'll look at a series of examples as this unit progresses. We'll look at several different videos so that we can stay within a 15-minute time frame, which is required. On this slide, you see a sample invoice, and I've taken the liberty of showing the numbers that are pertinent to us as we talk about trade discounts. This particular trade discount's 25%. So the list price there shown at $11,550 is being discounted by a rate of 25%, and that turns out to be $2,887.50. So you see that subtraction away to generate the net price of $86.62.50. It's worth noting that when you consider trade discounts, they are not applicable to any freight charges. So the freight charges then got added in later to find the total invoice amount at $87.87.50. All right, here's our first example to actually do some calculations. So Dell's Phones and More is going to get a 30% trade discount when they purchase this iPhone for resale, and the list price on the iPhone is $15.99. So the challenge for us is to find the discount amount and then find the net price for Dell's Phones and More. So we're simply going to go ahead and take the $15.99, multiply it by 30%, 0.30, and we're going to find out that the actual amount of the discount is $479.70. To calculate the net price for Dell, you take the $15.99 and you knock off the $479.70, and you're going to find that Dell's net price on that iPhone then it's $11.19.30. So that's a straightforward example with one trade discount. Not a whole lot going on, not a whole lot difficult. Well, we talked earlier about freight not being subjected to a discount fare. So there are two specific freight looks that we'll look at. FOB for free on board, if you want words to go along with those initials. This is the first one. An FOB shipping point means that it's free on board for the person who does the shipping. So the freight charges in this case would be paid by the buyer of the goods. And you can contrast that with FOB destination, where the free part attaches to the official purchaser, and the freight charges would be paid by the seller of the goods. Okay, and then if you go back and look at that previous slide, it also gives you some information about when the liability for the goods gets handed off. Okay. If it's FOB shipping point, the buyer pays the freight cost and the title transfer to the buyer once the goods are shipped. If it's FOB destination, the seller pays the freight and retains the title of the merchandise until it reaches the buyer's place of business. These next two slides are just pictorial in terms of what you're looking at with specific cities attached. So if you're doing FOB Boston in this particular problem, Boston is the person shipping the material to Fremont, California. So if it's FOB Boston, then the buyer is paying the freight costs to get those goods. In this case, that would be Tesla and Fremont paying the freight to get whatever it is they purchase from the Boston people. Same idea going the other direction. This is FOB destination. So in this case, it's free in terms of the Fremont people. So Boston would pay the charges to get the freight to the people in Fremont. All right, a single trade discount. We've actually already done this. The example that we looked at earlier, we could calculate how much the discount was and then subtract it away to determine our net price. But we kind of solved this in a previous unit where if you're saving a certain percentage, you're still paying a certain other percentage. And your author talks about complements as it relates to these discount amounts. So if we're saving 30%, for instance, then we're still paying the other 70% of the list price. So this notion is useful for us, particularly if we want to go a little faster. We just want to get a quick handle on what the net price is without maybe having to look at the dollar price attached to the trade discount amount. All right, here's an example for us. We got 4 Michelin tires at $2,400. It's a 30% trade discount. All right, so there's your price of the tires, $2,400. And if the discount's 30%, you and I are supposed to realize that we're still paying the other 70%. So that's what you see in terms of the complement for this particular problem. And then what we're going to see done next is that $2,400 being multiplied by that 70%, in effect saying, hey, yeah, we're saving you 30%, but you're still paying the other 70. So the net price would turn out to be $1,680. It's fast, it's clean. If you needed to know the amount of the actual trade discount, you certainly could get it by subtracting. You know how much the list price was, and now we know what the net price was. So we could subtract to find. I personally, I'm not sure that this one's that applicable, and we could certainly do it by formula or by calculations with an equation. But your author proposes that if we ever want to find the list price, and we happen to know the net price of what we're buying and the trade discount percentage, this little formula would give us an opportunity wherein we could calculate the list price. So suppose for a second we have an iPad here, and it's got a $524 net price, and we are subject to a 30% discount, 30% trade discount. We're wondering what the list price of the iPad was. Well, we know it's higher than $524, okay? So we'll look at the complement of that 30, and again, it's 70%. So the calculations are asking us to take the net price, the $524, and divide by that complement, which is in this case 70%. And if we did it successfully with a calculator, we'd find out that the list price for that particular iPad would have been $748.57. So that's example 4, walking backward from list price to net price, again, using the idea of complement for trade discount rates. Sometimes we may see more than one discount applied, and your author says that can be called a chain or a series. And if you look at the example on this slide, it's a 20, 15, 10. So your first discount is a 20% trade discount, then a subsequent 15% discount, and then a last 10% discount. The thing you got to be careful on these is that each of those discounts is based on a different value, a different base number as you go. Your original list price is only in play for that first 20% discount. So the last thing you want to do is try to add those things together and make a shortcut. That's not a good strategy. We'll walk through one. It's a bit cumbersome. It's not difficult math. All right. So in the first case, Frank's buying $18,000 and he's able to get a 20, 15, 10 chain trade discount. So his first discount's 20% off the $18,000. So his first discount amount is $3,600. So if that's all he had, his net price would be the difference between $18,000 and that $3,600, or $14,400. Luckily for Frank, man, he's getting more discounts, baby. So now that 15% trade discount is applicable on the 14.4. So as you set up your second discount calculation, we don't need that 18,000 anymore. It was useful to begin, but not now. So the 14,400 is being reduced by that 15%, and that turns out to be $2,160. Again, now your new net price as a result of that second trade discount becomes the difference between 14.4 and 2,160. So if that were his last trade discount, the net price would be 12,240. Oh no, Frank's got another one coming. So here comes his third and final trade discount at 10% based on the 12,240. So there you can see the calculation shaping up to find that last trade discount amount, $1,224. And you guessed it, Frank's net price as a result of all three trade discounts comes in at $11,016. Again, worth noting that in this particular context, each discount was based on a different base number. So the 18,000 only got used once to get us to a second base number of 14.4. That got used again to get us to a third discount number of 12,240. Okay, that wraps down video 1, keeps us within the 15-minute time frame, and I'll see you soon for video number 2 from unit number 3.